Another bush monster is in town, the SUV of the skies actually, the T206H, quite similar to the 207 that came out a couple months ago, is available to us all as freeware from Sal 1800, Bagaloo, and Burke. Easily a must download, you can find it at flightsim.to. Easily payware material in my opinion. Coming with a 6-seat cabin with capabilities of carrying 600 kilos and the nice option to interchange seats with variations of cargo. They have also given us the opportunity to put those fat Tundra tires on as well, a really nice touch. On top of all that, they've been nice enough to integrate the GTN 750 as well, along with the G5 PFD and HSI. Like I said, it is payware material. And today I'm going to show it off at the South Island of New Zealand with a touch and go at our starting airfield and a short flight over to the Gorge River Airstrip. Alright, so we are sat at the Cascade Station Airstrip. This is part of the NZS Simulations scenery pack in New Zealand. Highly recommended. Before starting engine checklist, pre-flight inspection passenger briefing should be complete. Seats and seat belts adjusted and locked. In the back we don't have to worry about that because we have cargo. We're going to go ahead and remove those seats. Install our cargo aft center. Second variation. I like that the most. Nice. And we'll put that on our engine configuration because we're going to make sure we keep track of these values not to overheat, overstress the engine. Go ahead and stow our tablet again. Continuing circuit breakers, check in. Electrical equipment off, avionics switch must be set to off to protect the avionics during engine start. Cowl flaps set to open. Fuel selector valve right down here. Set that to both. Avionics circuit breakers check in. Down to starting engine. Throttle open a 1/4 inch. High RPM on the prop. Mixture cut off. There we go. And switching our master switch. If the engine is warm, we can go ahead and skip steps 6 through 8. It is not, so step 6 is to switch our fuel pump on, advance our mixture to full rich, and we can see our fuel flow needle coming up there, and we will pull that back out. There we go. And our fuel pump is coming off, and we are ready to start. As we start, we're going to advance the mixture to full rich. There we go. Oil pressure in the green. Alternator and avionics coming on. Very nice. Nav strobes, beacons, and airflow. Go ahead and open our windows there. And we are just about ready to taxi. Mixture as required, throttle as required, depending on fuel vapor conditions. Here we go. Release park and brake, and we're off. Airstrips on the other corner of the ranch over there. The developers were really concise in the manual with their emphasis on engine control in all phases of flight, insofar as giving us tips on how to fly this thing realistically. For takeoff checklist, parking brake is set, passenger seat back, seat belts, we don't need to worry about that. Cabin doors closed and locked, windows are locked as well. Cargo door, we're not going to worry about that. Flight controls, free and correct. Flight instruments, check. Set fuel quantity check 10. Auxiliary fuel pump off. Mixture set to rich. Fuel selector valve rechecking on both. Throttle 1800 RPM to do our mag check. You didn't see that. There we go. Alright, bring it down to the left mag. Looking for a 50 RPM drop. Back up to both. And back down to the right mag. Back up to both. Cycling the RPM. Low RPM setting. Back up to high RPM. Vacuum gauge in the green. And we'll bring it back down to idle. Annunciator panel, nothing illuminated. Throttle back up to 1000 RPM. Throttle friction lock. Don't have the peripherals to check that. Strobe lights as desired. Electric trim if installed. Radio and avionics set. Transponder set to altitude. Nav GPS switch set to GPS. Elevator trim and rudder trim set to takeoff. Cow flaps open. And we will set our flaps down to 20 because we are going to be doing a short field takeoff. We're going to apply the brakes, take the parking brake off. Brakes are applied, bring the throttle up to 39 inches. Manifold pressure, 2500 RPM. Adjust the mixture for 34 gallons per hour. And we're off. That was it. I believe I just tail striked. So for short field operations, I don't recommend trimming it for takeoff. So 74 knot climbing speed. Slowly after reaching 90 knots, we will go ahead and raise the flaps slowly and reduce power once flaps have been fully retracted. Now we'll bring it down to cruise settings. 2300 RPM, 30 inches manifold pressure, and begin our left-hand traffic pattern for this touch and go. Luckily this is just the simulator, or else I would just be bringing it back to the airfield because that was a pretty hard tail strike. Looks like we're about 500, 600 AGL. We'll just keep it right around there. And begin our left downwind. Go ahead and reduce power. We're at 150 knots at cruise setting. In the manual it states that it should cruise around 120. That's probably because the manifold pressure is definitely under 30 and I had it right up there at the top of the green bar, so max cruise settings you'll get about 150 knots out of this thing. Into the wide arc, bringing the flaps down to 10 degrees. Keeping the nose up to drain that airspeed. We're going to drain the airspeed in that method. We're not going to put the nose down. Flaps down to 20 degrees. And we'll begin our final turn. Stall horn's going off. Yeah, we're a little high, so that's why I'm trying to keep the airspeed as low as possible. Dropping that final notch of flaps. .60 knots. Wow, this thing is really nice. Bringing it back up. Flaps coming to 10 degrees. Just slightly nose up. Learn from the first takeoff. Yeah, flaps went all the way up. Keep that RPM from going above 2500 RPM. It definitely went to about 2600 RPM on the first takeoff, so I'm assuming when we check that tablet we'll have a little bit of engine stress. Let's go ahead and make our left turn. Heading straight west and get up to cruising altitude heading towards Gorge River. Back to 30 inches manifold pressure, 2300 RPM. And we'll adjust our fuel mixture settings for max endurance. We can lower our gallons per hour by about 5 before we lose performance. We just make sure we monitor our turbine internal temperature for its peak. Right now that is too hot. We'll go ahead and enrich the mixture just a little bit. Bring that internal temperature back down. There we go. So we're about 29 inches manifold pressure at 15 gallons per hour. I'd say that's pretty fuel efficient. 2300 RPM. And we'll go ahead and stop our ascent at around 1800. Trim for level flight. Airspeed's still coming up, so I'm still having to push that trim wheel forward. Passing through 150 knots now. Manifold still at 29. I think we can bring that mixture out just a little bit more. There we go, right around 14 gallons per hour. Watch that TIT. 160 knot cruise speed. Not bad. Let's go ahead and pull our tablet out and check our engine configuration. Oh no, we can't check that while in flight. Okay. We'll have to check that while we're back on the ground then. It's actually a little strip right down there. Can't remember what it's called. Hopefield? I'm not sure. November Zulu 32 would be that little airstrip down there. It's definitely like only 600, 700 feet airstrip. Definite challenge. And that would also be downwind. Wind coming off the coast there. Coming around these hills, all we need to do now is head straight on this heading, and it's going to be right in front of us on the coast, right down there in that shady area. I was looking for the true airspeed that would be indicated on the PFD, the G5 PFD that would be right there, but I switched to the traditional 6-pack GNA 340. Something about just flying the traditional 6-pack that I like a lot. So the wind's out of the southwest, around 10 knots. So we're going to go ahead and make a straight in approach. I'll go ahead and reduce us down to idle. Bring the RPM back up. Keep that nose up until we get into the white arc. Drop down to 10 degrees of flaps. There we go. And drop the flaps. Mixture coming back up. 80 knots. Dropping it down to 20 degrees of flaps. There's our airstrip there. Now go ahead and lower down to full flaps. Keep it around 65 knots. Bringing the power back to idle. Wow. I'm speechless. That was smooth. It's official. This thing is awesome. This is one of the best flight models to control, and it's freeware. Yeah, no wonder why people like STOL so much. Always nice to just slow down and put the plane in all types of places. Welcome to Gorge River. Mixture coming out, mags coming off, lights off, avionics, alternator battery. Nice. Alaskan bush tires, 300 horsepower, and amazing low speed handling. Lightly loaded, you can take this thing anywhere, and it just looks cool sitting still. The developers already came out with a bunch of STOL freeware gold, and this 206 is no exception. Don't miss out on it, it's free. Airplane Heaven's P51 got an engine and flight model update recently, and I have been having loads of fun with it. You can probably expect a video about that coming soon. But until then, keep the blue side up, and I will see you all in that next one. Thanks for watching.